4.03, we have student wellness and success, and Ms. Marshall, will you introduce everyone for us?
Yes, so I am going to introduce a team up here. So just a little bit about Student Wellness and Success Funds, planning, and the Disadvantaged People Impact Aid. So fiscal year 2020 was the first year of the 2020-2021 biennium budget where the state's budget introduced Student Wellness and Success Funds. And so this was funding to support wraparound services for the students outside of the normal foundation funding that we received. So we saw our foundation funding frozen, but then they provided these extra dollars for wraparound services. Over time, and with the Fair School Funding Plan, they've taken those funds and they've put them into the funding formula through the Fair School Funding Plan. And so back in 2020, we created a plan for the use of the Student Wellness and Success Funds that was required, as this is restricted funding. And so this is an update to that plan, and we're also adding the Disadvantaged People Impact Aid. So again, not new funding, but just a new reporting requirement from the latest state budget bill that we had. Just real quick, we have about $1.4 million in Student Wellness and Success Funds, and about $1 million in which it's up there on the screen there, the DPIA, the Disadvantaged People Impact Aid funds. And then we have other general funds that we're supporting these programs with that they're going to tell us about. So I'll introduce Tammy Santa is our Executive Director for Student Services. We also have Cheryl Relford, our Executive Director for Elementary Schools, and then Nick McElwain is our Director for Alternative Education and Assessment. I'll turn it over to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, President Meyer, members of the board, Dr. Clark, and Mrs. Marshall. Appreciate that introduction. So we're going to present this in a couple different parts. I'm going to cover the student wellness and success side and kind of go through the pieces that you'll see up here. And then Cheryl and Nick will cover the DPIA side of the house. So as you look at the student wellness and success, those fall under the Student Services Office, which I am lucky enough to support. And more specifically, those are going to go under mental health for our school social workers and clinics for our nursing support services. I think most people know that our district continues to prioritize those two areas. And so this just helps us continue to grow and strengthen both of those buckets. I would say primarily these dollars and these people that fall underneath those dollars really allow us to support that tiered intervention of our mental health side, right, and students who need all sorts of different levels of care. So we see that as a huge win. And then the physical health side of just trying to be more intentional about our school clinics and servicing those student needs as well. Our successes, we could talk a lot about these, but more broadly, we're seeing more and more students accessing our mental health services and our school social workers specifically. When they do that, then we get to link people to more specific services that they need. We're seeing lots of improved regulation, accessing classwork, getting to class, those pieces, as well as watching some results on the sense of belonging. So that's more on the mental health side. And then you pop over to our clinic side. We've transitioned to a new charting system, school care. And so we get to see really wonderful reports that tell us specifically what are our medical conditions, what are those acuity pieces looking like, and then how do we respond to those? How do we staff appropriately? How do we create better care plans and kind of fill in those pieces? So that has been some of our successes in both of those areas. And then, like anything, we really make sure that we are consistently monitoring the progress on both of those sides. So for mental health, we're looking at formalized reports from Panorama, as well as our internal mechanisms to track how many kids we're seeing, what those are looking like, and where our gaps might be. And then again, those school care reports really allowing us to look at so many different pieces. And I would say between Jesse Martin and Rachel Pinto, really regularly, like weekly, monthly, looking at these reports and making sure that we are evaluating, making any adjustments as we continue to go in those areas. And then for all three of us, these dollars require a collaborative effort with two partners from a provided approved list. And so that is the ESC of Central Ohio that we use, as well as Concord Counseling, who we've had a longstanding partnership with. So those are our two collaborative partners. And that's essentially the pieces for the student wellness and success side. You know, overall, I'm just excited that I get to support both of these two buckets and continue to grow and strengthen both of these areas. So with that, I will let Cheryl talk about DPIA.
Good evening, President Meyer and Vice President Altman and members of the board, Dr. Clark and Mrs. Marshall. So I have the pleasure of supporting reading intervention services for the district, and we use these funds to fund that main resource for our students. We use these funds to pay for reading intervention teachers who provide that targeted, skill-based reading intervention for our kids. If a student is being serviced for reading intervention, the primary areas, we talk about foundational literacy skills, but the primary areas would be phonics and phonological awareness would be the areas that we target. For elementary, kids K-5 are all, usually it's 20% of their students fall in that category, so they receive reading intervention on top of their classroom instruction and their classroom interventions that teachers put in place. And our reading intervention teachers, we have evidence-based programs. We're currently using the SPIRE program, and we do progress monitor our students' performance on a weekly basis, and we reflect and analyze to make the necessary adjustments to ensure that they're gaining and showing gains in those areas that we are charged to serve. I'm going to turn it over to Nick McElwain.
Thank you, Cheryl. Good evening, Ms. Meyer, Dr. Clark, Ms. Marshall, members of the board. We are very blessed and fortunate within this district to be able to offer our at-risk students an alternative to dropping out of high school and a way for them to earn high school credits through the Educational Options for Success program, or the EOS program. To give you a little bit of background, the EOS program accounts for roughly 10% of our yearly graduation numbers, and on average, we award roughly over 400 credits throughout any school year to our students within Westerville City Schools. With us, we will continue at the EOS program to monitor our credit attainment and also our graduation numbers. But one thing we also do is we have a student survey that we give out when a student comes into the program, and then also a post-survey when they leave our program. And we're going to continue to monitor those numbers as well to make sure we're not only meeting the academic needs of our students, but we're also meeting their social and emotional needs as well, because it's a big picture where we have to look at with these students. So if anyone has any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer those at this time.
Just while you're there, the EOS program, since not everybody might know what that looks like, could you just briefly describe that for everyone?
Absolutely. How much time you got?
That's why I said briefly. No.
Yeah, because we got tons of stories we could tell about our successes, but in a nutshell, it's just a way to look at students to give them an alternative means to the regular high school setting. We do have a smaller setting across the street from Westerville South High School. At any one time, we can service at max about 120 students within our building, 60 per session. We have 2 sessions. We have a morning session. We have an afternoon session. Students will take some classes at their home high school and then maybe come to us for the second half of the day. Some students, the noise and just all the different things that go on in a typical high school is just a little too much. So sometimes the students only attend our program. We have students that are wide-ranging within their needs, educational, social, and emotional. We work with students at all different various ages as well. So we're working with those students that maybe just didn't quite get enough credits and get finished the previous year, and we're working on getting them finished up. We also have juniors, sophomores and even freshmen to where they have severe needs that really are struggling in a high school setting, and we're going to give them an opportunity instead of going to an online program or possibly dropping out or trying for a GED. Let's come in and let's work with our team in a smaller setting, a very controlled environment, and see if we can help them attain success.
The ES program is one of my very favorites, and it is, I think, an unsung hero. You're right, Jen, a lot of people do not know what it is, what it does, and the ever-growing number of lives that it has changed for the good. It's a remarkable program. I'm very glad that the district has been able to continue to support it all the years, and I certainly hope and will do everything I can to make sure that that support continues in the future. I think, Tammy, that was where I first met you, wasn't it? We were at North at that point in time. But it is a wonderful program. I thank you very much for continuing its forward motion. And every day I drive by there and I just kind of do a mental salute to what's going on in there, because it is not only dealing with the academic issues, it is dealing with social issues, it is dealing with emotional issues, and it is setting kids on a path where they will succeed. And our numbers show it over and over and over again. It works. Thank you. And thank you both as well, Cheryl and Tammy, for the work that you're doing. I'm sitting here thinking if I could wave my magic wand, if I had one, the connection between the work that is done with our readers who need assistance and those of our young people who sometimes begin to show those social-emotional stress points when the academic issues come into play. I am seeing, oh my gosh, wonderful ways that we can combine the work of both of your efforts in this area, and I know you do it, but I'm thinking the books we pick, the programs we use, the way we bring Concord and our intervention specialists together. Wow. Good stuff. Salute you too. Thank you.
So building on that, those services are super important, and I think, Ms. Marshall, I thought I heard you say, do these funds run through the formula?
Yes, so the Student Wellness and Success Funds and the DPIA funds, those are part of the foundation formula. So altogether, it's about $2.4 million. And then we have another $1.4 million that's locally funded to support these programs.
While that sounds like a whole lot of money, I'm assuming that that's not nearly enough to be able to completely support our children. And I'm wondering, as we think about the funding formula and the money that we get from there, what that could look like in terms of next year. Do we foresee more funding, less funding, and what that could look like for our children?
So the funding formula is a very complex formula, and the state share and local share will change with the updated values that we'll be talking about, I'm sure, in a presentation in the future. And we are, like all of these funds, are in a phase-in process as well. So,
Thank you. Thank you all for the great work you're doing.
Thank you.